Hello, Emily and work wifeys. Welcome to another episode of Dear Work Wives.
Hello.
Hello. Well, this is our first time recording in the new year, but we've been pumping episodes already, so
we have been, but
it's
our first time back.
Our first time back.
Yeah. So let's do a quick holiday season recap. I know people are over it because as of listening, it'll be like mid-January, but like high level, how was your holiday break?
It was good. Like I had a good week with the kids, and Tyler's mom came down. I told you he had to fly up there to get her. She did successfully make it back.
Yes.
So that was
perfect.
Good. And then I had kind of 4 or 5 days where the kids had childcare and I was still off of work. So
lovely.
I had a couple doctor's appointments. I had some downtime. I had some creative time. It was good. It was quite lovely.
Good.
And yeah, now I'm back. We didn't travel or anything, so it was just
right.
How about you?
It was really good once the kids went back to, when they were going back to school, and then we were I was like, oh my gosh, we did, this break was so long. We went to James's parents for the first weekend. We did a little Christmas there with his family. Christmas was wonderful. I cooked the world's most perfect prime rib. I was so proud of myself. I spent $100 on this.
Right?
Yeah. I spent $100 on this piece of meat. So the pressure was on.
Yeah.
It had to be perfect. And it was. And I did a lot of nothing. We had a couple play dates, but then it's also the season of the sickness. So a couple things were canceled. We went to a local junior hockey game. I slept a lot. I watched a lot of TV. I learned how to crochet. I was on my Christmas list. I wanted supplies to learn how to crochet, and I have been practicing my crocheting. So I'm really enjoying it. And
it's a big deal.
It's fun. I'm having a good time. I think I needed something to do with my hands, to keep them from scrolling on my phone. So
that's good.
Even though I use my phone for tutorials, so it's kind of but once I learn how to do the stitches, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I think one of the highlights of my 2 weeks off, outside of the obvious Christmas, all that magic, was that we booked a vacation.
We're going on a trip.
Our family is driving. We're doing the pilgrimage from Ontario to Florida, like many do. And then we're going to stay with Adrian for a few days. And then we're all going to Disney World. And I'm so excited.
I'm a full-blown Disney adult now. Yeah.
Me too.
I never saw this for me, but here I am.
I know. Because you're going next week.
I'm going next week. I'm going in March. I think I'll probably just
get annual pass.
End up upgrading this time, because you can put your money from these tickets, I think, towards the annual pass, I think.
Perfect. Awesome.
So I think I'll probably just end up upgrading when they reach out to me after this trip, because it's probably worth it if we go 1 or 2 more times.
Yeah, even. And it's easy. We were telling our kids, you guys, theoretically, you could go for the day if you wanted to.
Yes.
You could get up early, go spend the day, and drive home.
Yeah, especially if we went more often, we would just know, we're not going to get to everything. We just go for the day, get to what you get to, and then you go home. And
yeah. Does the annual pass let you bring guests though? That's one of the perks, right? Sometimes, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look at that.
You should look into that.
Maybe. Okay, I'll check.
Yeah. Or at least get you a guest rate once a year or something. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really excited. I'm really looking forward to it. Our kids are gonna get to hang out, and Lila's really excited about the Harry Potter bedroom, and it's gonna be great.
And she's really excited about baby Coco, right?
And Kit, yeah.
And Kit.
I showed her the picture of, she said that all she wants for Disney World is she wants to buy a set of ears, and she wants the Princess Disney era shirt. And I was like, oh, well, I got that, so I'll get you one too.
Yeah, you're I know where to find that.
Yeah. So Lila's going to get the matching shirt too.
Love it. We'll have to definitely have them wear that one day, matching.
Yeah. Magic Kingdom Day. Anyway, it's great. So that was definitely a big highlight of my week, was planning that. because I'm excited for like some fun family with my like time with my family, the drive. I'm excited to spend time with your family, and I'm excited to escape the winter for a few days.
It's always good to have something to look forward to,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Your picture went away on my screen.
Oh, no.
I don't
Well,
know why.
I can still see both of us, so let's hope it's working.
Okay.
Okay.
I just miss seeing your face, but well, a couple things that I wanted to talk about before we dove into stories.
Let's do it.
One is that there was this article in Business Insider about the boomer retirement bomb.
Oh, right.
Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't, but they will be retiring soon.
Yeah, so like basically the great baby boomer retirement wave is upon us.
Right.
And 44% of boomers are at retirement age, and then there's going to be millions more joining them by 2030. Because by 2030, the largest generation to enter retirement will all be older than 65.
Wow.
So it's an opportunity for so many people because there's going to be boomers probably selling businesses. There's going to be obviously openings in the in the job market, not even just with small businesses, but obviously roles that need to be replaced, people that have held roles for 20, 40 years.
Yeah.
There's going to be
they're getting those shift. Pensions.
They're getting their pensions finally. But that's another piece of this, is that a lot of them aren't retiring because they're not financially
ready to
set up to retire, unfortunately. So a lot of them will be working longer than ideal, but
100%.
It's something we've thought about, like looking at like businesses to buy and then running those businesses, trying to improve those businesses and make money. And Tyler's always like skeptical of like, well, why, if this business is profitable, why would someone sell it? I'm like, because they're retiring, like they don't want to work anymore at all,
Yeah.
So,
or they want to do something else, or they don't have children who are interested in passing it on to, like,
right.
Yeah. Millions of reasons why.
And something that happened to me this morning, which is just a note of advice for people who are selling their businesses, is to let your customers know that you're selling your business. So my kid's pediatric dentist apparently so we had Coco's first appointment was supposed to be over the break. Like she's almost 2. She has like all her teeth. So she probably should have had an appointment already. Yeah. So I was going to take her for her first appointment sometime in like early January it was scheduled for. And then all of a sudden over the break, we got this text message that was like, oh, we're updating our systems. Like we have to cancel your appointment. We'll reach back out to you to like reschedule. So sorry for the inconvenience, but like, we're not going to be holding appointments like during all these dates. And I was like, okay, that's super weird. And whatever. So then one of my mom friends locally like texted me this morning and said that, oh, did you know that said dentist sold her practice and they are under like new management now? And I was like, no, I thought that they just were getting a new system, they said, and they canceled my appointment.
Right.
And like, yeah, they were doing that. And I guess that was part of the sale. Maybe the new person was implementing some new system or software, but I'm like, well, maybe they should have said something to their customers before, like, isn't that weird to not communicate to everyone? Like, hey, also we're selling the practice and I've done a really good job of like finding someone who I think is going to be a great fit. And
especially at like a business like that where
like
you're going to see a dentist or a doctor or something like that, That's wild. Well,
I know.
But did they keep you as a patient? Like, do you get to stay there?
It's a good question. I never thought, like, can they just fire me as a patient? I guess they could. Are they going to treat me as a new patient now?
Right.
Because this other dentist, I think, does have
another
previous practice. So they do have really good reviews. So I'm like, okay, we'll probably just stay there, even though it's not who we previously went to. But if they have good reviews, they're really close to our house. So I'm like, I just
convenience.
ideally stay there because it's convenient.
Yeah.
But yeah, are they bringing their whole practice to this location? Are they opening a second location? Like, what's going on? I have no idea what's going on, to be honest. And they haven't called me yet to reschedule Coco's appointment. So I guess I need to call them and be like, what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. This has happened to me a few times. My doctor retired, sold her practice, and then sold to like a doctor who I love.
Did she tell you?
Yes, they did tell us, because she had been my family's doctor since like before I was born. So this was like a long term. And then we loved the new doctor. And then within a year, the new doctor moved to a new practice. So it was like you could go with her or you could stay. It was very dramatic. And she was just like, I'm so sorry. The new doctor was like, I'm so sorry. But like I found a practice closer to my house. And I was like, that's cool. But I love you. So I'm coming with you. And this actually happened at my dentist too, where like it was like the dentist they sold, but there was like a transition period where like I think he stayed on for like a year. So
yeah,
you like he slowly transitioned out, and then all of a sudden like he retired, and then I love the new dentist again, so it's great, it worked out. But yeah, I feel like in the medical profession, like if you're signing up to see someone, you should probably know if they're no longer there.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there should have been some notice. And I mean, that's something that happens when we're helping clients like clockwork their businesses, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we've worked with like dentists, therapists, like people that have like close relationships with their clients, and they maybe want to sell. It makes sense that you sell eventually, especially as you're retiring. Like maybe your kids don't go into the dental, profession. And so you need to sell to a reputable dentist. So I get it. But ideally we have a transitional period, or at least a really nice communication to transfer that trust to the other new person.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was a little, from a business perspective, I was like, this is odd,
super odd
that there was no notification, especially because they were like texting us about the system being down, and there was some like weird thing, like they sent like multiple messages about the system being down, and I was like, yes, I already confirmed this, like I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe there was some weird errors going on as they were transitioning, but they could have just texted us and said that as well, since they had access to all of our information.
Wild.
But
so note to people who want to sell, let your customers know.
Or if you want to buy, like put that into your contract of like,
yeah,
hey, we want like a smooth transition of your customer base so that they trust us. Like, how are you going to help us transfer that trust? Like that's something you can write into your contract. And I would highly recommend that you do, because people who are going to a medical professional, they typically like that person, they trust that person. It took a lot of time for them to get to that point, or feel comfortable if they're a returning customer, and that transfer of trust can go a long way for people, because it is a huge inconvenience to find something new. You don't want to have to find something new. So if it's like, okay, well, if my previous person that I trusted said this is the person that I should go to, then great. Kind of like, actually, my hair stylist did this.
I remember.
She was my hair girl, and then she's like, actually, I'm going to be a Pilates instructor. And I was like, oh, okay. But she did it really well in that she gave time for everyone to like get their last appointment if they wanted to. And she had like 5 different
like referrals,
colleagues that she was recommending to us to like hand over. She even like gave our new colorists like our color mix, like our
formulas,
formulas and stuff, so that the transition was really smooth. And like, she didn't have to do all that, but
no, it's really nice of her
thing to do.
It's my greatest fear. It's that one day my hairstylist will either stop being my hair, or will like fire me as a client, or will stop doing hair, and then I'm gonna have to go find someone else, because that's the hardest relationship to start forming, because it's so expensive. Like, what do you mean I just paid all this money and I don't like it? Like, I know you can speak up for yourself, blah, blah, but I'm a millennial. I'm not going to, okay? So I'm just going to be unhappy about it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
I really loved my OB that I had when I was with Kit, and then she left the practice shortly after, but I couldn't follow her because she like went far. I tried to follow her, even though like it was like I go to like a women's practice where there's like 6 different doctors and they rotate, but you have like one main one. And she was my one main one. And she was there when I gave birth to Kit. And so I really trusted her. And they were like, oh yeah, she had to leave or whatever. Like when I went back for my Coco starting appointments, and I was like, what? She's not here anymore. And I like asked where she was and they couldn't tell me. And so then I Googled her, but she was like an hour away now. Yeah. So couldn't follow her. But,
no.
You know,
I feel you.
That's a very personal relationship too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Should we do some stories?
Let's do it. Happy retirement, boomers.
Happy retirement. Good luck to you. And please reach out to me if you want me to buy your business.
And let me know how your pension's treating you. Lots of people reached out to me after that episode and said, oh, we have a pension. And I was like, you can suck it.
Still working on my pension. So
yeah. Not in any careers I wanted to be a part of. So it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know. All right. The other thing I want to say before we dive into stories is if you have a story that you would like us to give you some feedback on, some advice on, if you have a question, think of us as like an advice column for your ears here at Dear Workwives. So you can go to dearworkwives.com and submit your story. It's all anonymous and we can give you some advice. We can just vent together. Mm-hmm. But it would be really appreciated if you sent in some stories for us.
Yes, please.
All right. First story. Hope everyone had a happy new year. I'll get straight to the point. I'm a manager of a concrete plant. I constantly work 60 plus hour weeks on a salary. I'm coming off of a 4-day weekend and my heater went out 2 days ago. All of the companies that can fix it have been closed. I really need to take tomorrow off to get this resolved. I work an hour away and they never let me leave once I arrive. It's fixing to get into the teens where I live, temperature-wise.
Fahrenheit.
And I have a young child. Mm-hmm. My wife is always the one calling out and simply cannot do it tomorrow. What should I say to my employer? I thought about saying I'm sick, but I hate lying. I don't have any type of assistant in place. Every other plant does, but my manager doesn't seem to think it's important. The closest people who can cover my spot live 2 hours away. What should I do?
Just say I'm not going to make it in tomorrow. Personal reasons.
Personal reasons. Yeah.
Like I think that's the move. Yeah.
Like just tell them you have a family emergency or personal, something you need to take care of. Yeah.
Pressing, personal, like you can use the word emergency. It kind of is. You have to have heat in your house.
You have to have heat. You have a small child too. Like, yeah. I think this does constitute personal family emergency. I also love that you are taking some, co-responsibility for this. You said that your wife is always the one to call out and
yes.
like maybe she has more flexibility, but it's like, okay, but that doesn't mean that she can't always be the person that does that. And so even though it's maybe harder for you to do that, like you just need to communicate it's a personal family emergency. I need to be out tomorrow. I think the sooner you can tell them, the better, right. Just so that they can get someone, sounds like it's going to be a drive for whoever does need to cover. But maybe this will also show your manager that like having an assistant would be helpful. Like why does every other plant have an assistant, but not you?
Right.
So I would tell them sooner than later in these circumstances, just so they can get coverage. Mm-hmm. And it is a personal family emergency. So don't feel bad about it.
It's life.
Take care of your family.
That is life. If they wanted their company to be operated by robots, they could build a plant that can be operated by robots and see how that works for them.
Yeah. Okay. My coworker cannot be trusted. Mm-mm. They continue to talk negatively about me and exhibit toxic behaviors. Do I confront them or distance myself?
So here's the thing. If you want to confront them, I feel like you need to be confronting people with facts and not feelings. So as soon as it becomes, I feel like you treat me poorly, like just, I'm not saying that that's not true, but like in the workplace, like we really need to come with receipts, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Like, we need to have like, this is unacceptable
Documentation.
behavior. This is against company policy. This is blah, blah, blah. Because without that, it just becomes like they said, you know?
Yeah. So like facts, not feelings here.
Yes.
Document these things. Would you confront them then, or would you bring it to like HR?
I would never confront someone without first speaking to a supervisor. Personally, I just feel like sometimes I need a reality check, or like a vibe check,
sounding board.
I don't want to put myself in situations where something could be twisted and turned against me. Like, if I'm having a conversation with a colleague that has the potential to go south, I need to make sure that leadership knows that that's happening ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I would prefer to have a neutral third party in the room or on the Zoom while that conversation is happening, because there's always my truth, their truth, and the real truth. And like, the real truth is never going to come to light if there isn't another person there to observe it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. I think sometimes like small things can be addressed, if it's just like, sometimes you put me down or talk over me in meetings and blah, blah, like, those things, and they should be addressed in the moment or like within, like, when they happen. But if this is like a repeated pattern of like really toxic behavior, I also think that you need to go to your supervisor or HR to give them an opportunity to like also start documenting it and follow protocols and procedures. I mean, I know that like the States is different, but in Canada, like, you can't just fire someone. Like, you need to have like documented proof that you have tried to resolve the issues. So
yeah, and that depends on the state here. So
yes,
yeah.
But still, like, it never hurts to have documentation of
what's going on.
It, like, this is like a side note, but I have been seeing a lot on TikTok videos around like what to do when you're put on a PIP, like a performance improvement plan. And the advice, similar, I know we talked about this like a while ago, but the advice is always start looking for another job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty much what I said. If you put me on a PIP, then you might as well just give me my notice, because like, it's just the final step in the like administrative paperwork to releasing someone often. So if it gets to that point, like, or if you're trying to get it to that point with if someone really makes you that uncomfortable in the workplace, like, you're not gonna be able to tackle that alone. You need support and like actual documentation of wrongdoing, and not just we don't vibe, because we don't vibe it's too bad. We're adults. We have to work together,
Yeah, like, that's not enough. And it doesn't really matter. Like, once you have, 8, 10 plus, a lot of you work for companies that have hundreds of people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people at your organization. Like, you just have to come to terms with like, you're not going to get along with everybody. And
someone could be like
not everyone's going to be your best friend.
Right. And someone could be out to get you. And someone could be just like a crotchety, like mean-spirited person. And unless they're doing things that are like documented transgressions, for lack of a better word, like, these large corporations also don't, like, they're not trying to make sure everyone gets along. They're like, is everyone doing their work? Great. Like, that's all we care about.
Because it's just unrealistic. And I agree, like, with that many people in the room, like, we're not all going to be best friends, but we all do have to respect each other enough to work together. And that's where the documentation of when someone is not doing those things is really important, right? Like, so
all that to say, unless you have the power to make a change based on how that conversation goes, like, then you need to include the people who do have the power to make change. Otherwise it becomes a battle of, I said this and they said that and blah, 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 blah.
I didn't like it. Yeah. All right. Here's last story for the day. Last question. Should I deny a coworker's friend request on Instagram? So I've been working with this colleague for many years, but recently he sent me a friend request on Instagram, and I'm annoyed as I don't want to accept it. I don't post that much, but I want the content I have on it to remain private. in the past, a few years ago, he had already sent me a request, but I had just ignored them. There was a friend we know in common that I talked to on the app, and he is very good friends with her too. So he might be offended that I allow her on it, but not him. The issue is he is also higher up in the hierarchy at work, and I like keeping my work and my private life separate, but I don't want this to cause me problems either. How would you deal with it?
I just wouldn't. I would just ignore it. You don't have to accept people. Like, you don't have to, and then you don't have to address it either. Like, if he's that uncomfortable with it, he can come to you and say, why didn't you accept my friend request? And then he'll try to get himself to say that and realize that it sounds so asinine that he won't say it. Like, like, I get the awkwardness. I do, but
I also, well, my Instagram is public, but on my Facebook, like when people friend request me, I often miss it. Like I have had people that like I'm actually friends with, and I like months or even years down the road, I go to friend request them, and then I realize that like I already had like a request pending for like
a year,
a long ass time, and I'm like, oh, they probably think I'm an a-hole, but like really, I just didn't even see it, or I didn't, whatever at the time, just because it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
who cares? So I would agree, and I think it would be really believable if he ever did say something to you, like to just be like, oh, I didn't even see it. Like, I don't know, I'm not on there that much, or like I only use it for private.
Bot and spam request, all of like everyone gets like all the like I just don't like, I don't really like, I'm not adding new people to my Instagram. You know what I mean? Like I have my friends. Like if I make a new friend, like I'm probably going to seek them out, like someone who I want to follow, So like if I get a random request, it's very rare that it's from someone who I actually, because my Instagram is locked down.
Right.
It's very rare that I'm accepting people these days. I'm just like, I like, if you're not already in, you're probably not going to get in because I don't know you that well,
Yeah. No new friends.
Well, I mean, like I'm very open to new friends, of course, always, but but because I post, like, because mine is locked, like I'm not just accepting people, but also I'm not meeting that many people. It's like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's like one of those things where like James and I were at a music festival last summer, and someone who we were like standing beside in the pit was like, let's become friends on Instagram. And in my head, I was like, why? Like, I'm never going to think of you after we walk out of this field,
That's,
like,
that's weird.
And like, I guess it's like a generational thing. Like if it's all open in public, like it's whatever. But I'm like, I like post my kids. So I like, you want to see pictures of my kids? Like literally that's all I post. My kids and like Taylor Swift memes. Like, like pictures of my walks. Like, you know what I mean? So anyway, all that to say, just
I'm thinking of the time that I went with my friends, like my college friends, on like a girls' weekend last year. And we were at the bar, and I did meet this like random woman at the bar, and we were talking, and I was intoxicated at this time. But she had like some business or something. We were talking, and she was like, let's be friends on Instagram. And I did friend her on Instagram. And then I remembered like a couple months I was like, who is this? Like I saw her like in my stories, that came up. And I was like, I should probably just unfriend this person because I'm never going to talk to them again.
I've been going deep on the unfriending, like, because I'm just like, it's fine. Like, I think we're all coming into our social media power. Like you curate the space that you want, and you let people see, especially if you're someone who is like maybe a little bit more open, or maybe you have like a different persona at work than you do and it's like, separation of church and state, my friend. Like, you don't need to see like my like rave culture or my crochet hobby or whatever it is that you're like, this is me. You don't need to see it. I just need you to see like what I show up and work as. I don't know. For some people that's maybe not the vibe, but I think it's like, it's okay.
So funny because like when I was in corporate, I definitely had like the division of church and state. Like I had a persona of like who I was buttoned at my job. I was very buttoned up. I meant business. I was really focused, but I was kind of party girl, like outside of work. Not really like during the week or well, definitely not during the week. Also because I moved to a town where I didn't know anyone. But like when I went away with like my college girlfriends and stuff like that, like it was not the work person that people knew.
Exactly.
And that was like when Tyler, we worked together, my now husband, like he wanted to friend request me because I had told my team that I was going to a bachelorette party in Vegas. And he was like, what? He was like, she's going to a bachelorette party in Vegas. He's like, I have to see these pictures. Like, who is this person?
And then it was like a
because
whole
I was like
person.
so serious at work. And then he like looked me up on Facebook and he was like, that is not who I pictured, because we had never seen each other. We had only like conference called at the time. There was not a lot of Zoom happening back then.
And then he fell instantly in love with this hottie on the other end of the phone.
He was like, wow, I need to be friends with her. And so he friend requested me on Facebook. And at that time I was a little bit like, like, do I want to let this person from work? So I can relate to this of like,
totally.
I post things on here that maybe are not super professional, you know?
Yeah.
Do you ever have like memories come up and you're like, oh my God, I have
vile.
to this.
Untag myself. Like,
like
from the days where we would go, I would go to the bar every weekend and there would be a full 100 photo album every single weekend. Like,
from your digital camera, plug
it in. Like, no.
Add the whole album, come up with a creative name.
Yeah. Over the years, I had like pared it down to just like a few, like I still have some pictures from like college, and I spent like a summer in Lake Louise. And when I went there, like Alberta's drinking age is 18, but Ontario's is 19. So I was a late bloomer in being able to legally drink. But when I went to Alberta for the summer, I could drink there. So like a girl's gone wild, let me tell you. Like, but then I came back home and I couldn't still drink for another 2 months. So that was the worst. Oh man. Like, who was I?
I'll also tell you that I don't know it. Like me and my college friends still like in our chat, like whenever we have memories from each other's like Facebooks, we share them and we're like, what were we even talking about? Like, because we would write. So when I first started college was 2004. That was the first year that Facebook was a thing.
Yeah.
And it was only for like college students. So I feel like, we were like we were the first round of people to get on Facebook. And it was very different at the time in that you could like write on someone else's wall. And it was almost just like
a diary.
It was like a diary, but like other
text
people
messages.
could change. Yeah. It was like other people could change what you wrote too.
Yeah.
So
it was
bizarre.
The Wild West, let me tell you.
Like we would write things of like what we, got so shit-faced last, like stupid things that like you don't want the internet to know now.
No.
But we didn't know.
Never want anyone to know.
One of my friends who's in the medical profession, she's always like, oh my God, delete that. Erase that from, like, scrub it from the internet. Like, can't
seriously
have that on my record.
Seriously. It's
so
wild.
All that to say, if you don't want to be friends with this person, just leave it on red and just ignore it. Just ignore the requests. You don't have to be friends with anyone on the internet that you don't want to be friends with.
No,
it's
your
more
space.
How you connect with them in real life. If they see that you're friends with them in real life, then fine. They're not going to care that you're not showing them your private pictures,
Right.
Or you could just go the route and say, actually, it's for my OnlyFans. So
perfect. It's paid. Admittance is $100 like a week. All right, well,
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Like we said at the top of the show, if you have a story, please go to dearworkwives.com to submit it. If you have an update on one of these stories, send us the updates because we love those. And
you just put updates in the subject line for us.
And where will we see them?
We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yay.